Hello and welcome to Month of BizLove, day 15. I'm Tara Swiger and I help makers and artists feel awesome about their business. And one of the ways I'm doing that right now is with this 30-day challenge for the month of BizLove. In it, we are doing a new challenge every day for the month of from May 25th to June 24th. Of course, you can join us anytime. If it's way after that, you're still welcome to join in. The challenge includes 3 parts. One is daily video lessons, and this is lesson 15. You can find all the rest of them on YouTube at taraswiger.com/YouTube. There's a Month of BizLove playlist. The second part is the workbook where you answer the questions and really dive into this for yourself. So it's one thing to learn it, it's another thing to apply it to your own business. And my goal with the Month of BizLove is for you to get closer and closer to a business you love, for you to love on your business more and more, and the workbook helps you do that. The third part of it is the Instagram community. You can answer each challenge every day with a community. Use the hashtag Month of BizLove, and you will both be helping each other come up with solutions and ideas, and you'll be providing inspiration to the other people, and you can meet some of them and get ideas and inspiration from them. Also, it's just a good practice to be sharing what you're learning in your business. Even your followers who don't have businesses are going to be interested in some of these questions. And in the workbook, which I don't think I said, you can download at taraswiger.com/monthofbizlove. In that workbook, I give ideas for how to share it on Instagram without feeling like you're oversharing or like you're being a hot mess. Because you might feel like a hot mess because yesterday I asked you to identify the obstacles, the things that are getting in your way of doing what you need to do for your business, or the things that you want to do for your business and for your very next goal. Now, I want to make a quick clarification. I saw on Instagram, many of you answered the question by talking about what your challenge is. So you said things like, my obstacle is marketing. My obstacle is traffic to my website. My obstacle is profitability. Now that is actually the challenge in front of you. Your obstacles are the things that are keeping you from doing those things. Like if you need to do more marketing, that's a challenge. The obstacles are all the things that keep you from doing marketing. Maybe you don't know what to do, or you don't know what to say, or you don't have a plan, and that's why you don't do more marketing. Well, that's solvable. You can learn that. Maybe it's that you know what you want to do or what you want to say, and you're just not doing it because you're getting distracted by something else. Maybe because it's how you're spending your time. All of those things are solvable, but those are your obstacles. That's what you can come up with a strategy for defeating. The challenges are like getting more traffic, doing more marketing, sharing your thing with more people. And if you need help coming up with a plan and knowing what to say about your work, my book and my class, Craft Your Marketing, can help. You can find that at taraswiger.com/CYM. A lot of people mentioned that as an obstacle, so I just want to let you know that's a solution. taraswiger.com/CYM. Craft Your Marketing is also part of the 6-month program Liftoff, which is going to open next week. You can sign up to learn more about that at taraswiger.com/lift if you're interested in building the foundations, setting a goal and breaking it into doable chunks, and then working on your profitability, your marketing, and your time management. All that is covered in Liftoff, and that's taraswiger.com/lift. Now, on to today's lesson about a challenge versus threat mindset. So you heard me refer to things like you need to do more marketing or you want to get more traffic as a challenge. A challenge is something that you want to work on and that you see as something that's overcomable. So I'm going to read you a little bit about the difference between a challenge and a threat. A lot of this comes from the book Super Better by Jane McGonigal, in which she talks about, and it's really one of the first times I read about the science behind a challenge versus threat mindset. So for starters, a challenge is anything that provokes our desire to test our strengths and abilities, and that gives us the opportunity to improve them. So the difference between a challenge and something bad happening is that a challenge inspires us to do better, to get better, to improve our abilities or our skills or our work habits or our marketing. So a challenge is something that's like, oh, I'm going to work harder in order to overcome that. A threat is something that's scary that you haven't chosen. So a threat would be like someone attacking you. It's not something you've chosen. It doesn't inspire you to get stronger. You just feel awful. It's just bad and scary. Whereas a challenge is something like a marathon that I want to run is a challenge. It's not a threat. It's not like coming to get me if I don't do it. It's something that I want to work to overcome. right? The same thing is true of your business. Do you see it as a threat, like something scary that's attacking you, or something you're working on overcoming? The distinction between how you perceive something is really important to how you're going to react to it. That makes sense, right? If you think something's a threat, something's attacking you and you have no control over it, you're not going to take action to change it because it's a threat. If you see something as a challenge, you're going to take action to overcome it or change it. For most things in our life, the distinction is entirely in your own head. The distinction is entirely up to you, right? I see this a lot with people's businesses and marketing or customer service. They look at it as a threat, as something that's like attacking them. Like, oh no, I have to do marketing for my business. No, you don't. You're choosing to grow your business by sharing it with more people. Yes, if you want that dream business that we defined at the beginning of the month of Biz Love Challenge, you do have to do marketing, but nobody's making you. It's not a threat hanging over you. It's a challenge you've decided to take on. However, if you don't see it as a challenge, you won't take the actions required to actually work on it and do it. So the good news is you can change how you perceive any challenge in front of you. Whether you asked for it or not, you can move from a threat mindset to a challenge mindset. And that cognitive reappraisal, where you are reappraising a situation and changing it from a threat to a challenge, is going to unlock some of your innate skills and abilities and enthusiasm and curiosity, which will help you defeat the challenge. If you see it as a threat, though, you won't unlock any of that. You won't work on any of that. You won't see any of that as a possibility. So how you perceive it, that's like the key to if you work on it or don't work on it, right? It's the key to if you move forward or don't move forward, is do you see it as a threat or do you see it as a challenge? So, here's a couple of other things. Now, so scientists have been studying the challenge versus threat mindset for over 30 years. There are so many research papers on the difference between a challenge and a threat mindset. It's like fascinating. And they found that in the challenge mindset, when you believe something's a challenge and not a threat, you experience less anxiety, depression, and you're much more likely to solve the problem or come up with a positive outcome. But if you perceive it as a threat, your body does all of these things. It like restricts blood flow, your heart beats faster, you can't come up with solutions. And they talk a lot about this in the book Scarcity. I can't say the name of the author. It's a tricky name to say. But in the book Scarcity, they talk a lot about when you approach something fearing that it's scarce versus when you aren't thinking about it as scarce. And that's the difference between a challenge and a threat mindset. So what's interesting is by cognitively reappraising, changing how you think about a threat into a challenge, you actually change how your body reacts to the stress of it. Your breathing deepens, your heart rate slows, and your creativity expands. You're able to think of more creative solutions when you see something as a challenge versus a threat. Now, all of this is important because this is directly related to how you work on your business or don't work on your business. This is entirely related to what you do every day in your business, if you're moving towards your goals or you feel stuck and like you can't move forward. So I want to give you a couple more examples of the difference though. So in a challenge mindset, you focus on the opportunity for growth and for positive outcomes. Even though you acknowledge that bad stuff might happen, like having a challenge mindset does not mean you believe everything is great. It's a challenge. It's still hard. It's going to require hard work. But even though you acknowledge that bad stuff might happen, you feel realistically optimistic. That's really important. We're not talking about unrealistically optimistic. We're not talking about believing everything will be fine even if you don't do anything. We're talking about believing that it can turn out okay if you do the work needed to make it turn out okay. So, and you feel realistically optimistic that you can learn or grow and create the best possible outcomes, that you have the ability to turn this into the best possible outcome. That doesn't mean a perfect or a good outcome. One of the Starship members just shared that she needs to have surgery. So she was looking at how she can take time off of her business and how she can arrange things to be able to recover. Now, none of us gave her suggestions for just not having the surgery, but there's a best possible outcome from many situations, right? Like she can recover, she can have her work taken care of ahead of time, she can get some help on taking care of her business, she can decide to let go of things and have a much better outcome than seeing like, oh no, everything's falling apart, it's all awful, and I'll lose my business. That would be a threat mindset. A challenge mindset lets you look and be realistically optimistic that you can create the best positive outcome, which is not always like a happy, wonderful outcome. It's just the best possible option in this scenario. So, yes, so I want to make really clear, this is what my notes say. It doesn't mean that it doesn't suck or that you're not sad or that you don't experience loss. Having a challenge mindset, deciding you're going to approach things as a challenge and not as a threat, and that you're going to work on the best possible outcome, doesn't mean that you're not scared and that life isn't hard and that there's not hard work and that you don't experience loss. It simply means that you are committed to looking for the best possible positive outcome, and thus, and this is the important part, you feel like you have choices. You feel like that there are options. And I talk about this a lot with people who are feeling really like stuck and in a swirl or negative. And I do this a lot in my personal life too. It's probably pretty annoying to be my friend because I will often say, what are your options here? You have options. Stop feeling like you don't have options and let's look at what they are. They might not be options you like, but there are options. So you just lost your job. Super bummer, super big loss. It probably feels terrible. Eventually, you need to start thinking about what are some positive possible outcomes and what are my options. In every situation, let's say in 90% of situations, you have choices. They might not be the choice between like sparkly unicorns and horribleness, but it's a choice on a spectrum. We're going to go for a more positive outcome. Okay? So it doesn't mean that things don't suck and that you don't experience loss. It just means that you're able to recognize that in many situations, you have more choices than you first thought. And that recognizing that you have choices and you have options lets you see some opportunities. It opens you up to look at opportunities, to get curious about how you can change things, to gather resources that are going to help you come up with a positive outcome, and it'll help you tap into your internal strengths that you already have. And we're going to talk more about strengths tomorrow, but I just want you to keep that in mind. So a challenge mindset does all of these things for your actual body's reaction to stress. It also does all these things in your brain. You're able to be more curious, more creative, come up with different solutions. So the key is to change something that feels like a challenge or a threat into a challenge, and to approach your life or just really your business from a challenge mindset. In other words, always be looking for the options and the choices in front of you. I want to be clear, this doesn't require thinking positively all the time. Instead, you can just start approaching life from a challenge mindset by starting to investigate your strengths, which we'll talk more about tomorrow, and your own abilities, and then trying to increase them. Knowing what you're strong in, what you're good at, and the things that you're skilled at, and then working on increasing those and focusing on how you can bring those to whatever situation is in front of you. So it's not that you're going to like the challenge. Like when we talk about a challenge mindset, it doesn't mean that you always feel like, woohoo, challenge, let me at it, right? You might feel about your marketing or your profitability or getting traffic to your site like, oh, I don't want to do this. But if you can look at it from the perspective of what strengths and abilities do I have that I could bring to this? Or what are the things that I need to learn so that I can handle this better? That's a challenge mindset. You're going to get a lot more progress in your business when you can turn those threats into challenges. So a challenge mindset makes it more likely you're going to find the resources you need. Because here's the thing, there's a lot of resources we can tap into that we forget about. You can ask for help. You can ask other people what they think. You can get feedback on ideas. You can also get like somebody to do something around your house so that you have more time to work on your business. You can, if maybe you have more time than money, you can do exchanges of time for other things. There are lots of options, and you're going to be able to gather those resources when you see the problem in front of you as a challenge instead of as a threat. So our goal, my goal here with the Month of Biz Love Challenge, is to move your feelings about your business and what you have to do in order to reach your goal from a threat mindset to a challenge mindset. I want to help you shift how you're thinking about these obstacles and these struggles and your goal from being a threat that's scaring you into a challenge that you're working on, that you're overcoming. Because remember, a challenge inspires you to improve and change and grow and work towards what you want to work towards. So an easy way to start this shift, because now that I've talked all about the difference between challenge and threat and why it's so much better to have a challenge mindset, you might be like, okay, but I still feel really freaked out by this. So here's an easy switch. I want you to ask yourself, what's the best thing that could happen? Now, often we ask ourselves, what's the worst thing that could happen in order to make us realize that the worst case scenario isn't actually that bad. But in order to think of something so that might help. That helps some people stop seeing things as a threat. But often the worst thing that could happen is like really bad. The worst thing that could happen in a surgery is it could all go wrong and you die. That doesn't really help you think of it as a challenge and come up with solutions and gather resources. So instead, you can think, what's the best that could happen? One way that I like to ask this is, what is the best possible outcome of this thing I'm freaking out about? So I am working on a launch next week. There are a lot of things that could go wrong. There are a lot of worst case scenarios. There are a lot of ways I can mess it up or just fail for it to have the kind of impact I want it to have. So yes, it could be a threat. It could be a scary thing that's actually going to ruin my business and I won't have any money and blah, 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 right? There's a lot of threats. Instead, if I see it as a challenge and I ask, what's the best possible outcome? Then I can start to see possibilities and opportunities. And if I really flesh out what those best possible outcomes are, maybe I realize I need help in some way so I can gather resources. Maybe I realize I need to learn something so I gather that knowledge. Maybe I see the ways that I could improve or change or be better than I was last time. So then I start seeing actions, quests I could go on, things I could do, things to gather. So that's an easy way to switch from a threat to a challenge mindset, is to get really, really specific about the best possible outcome. Okay, so that's going to help you stop focusing on all that could go wrong and instead start you focusing on how you could do your absolute best. Because remember, we're talking about best possible positive outcomes, not best outcome ever, right? But what's the best positive outcome you could come up with for this situation? Now, you can also ask the questions we talked about in the earlier challenge where we talked about making your business fun. You could ask, what's the funnest way to do this? You could also ask, what is the way I could do this that would feel the easiest? And I have asked for years, what's a way that I could do this that would make me feel most full of ease and flow? Because those are two things I really want in my business. I don't want my business to be a struggle. I don't want it to be hard. I don't want to feel like I'm grinding away. Like, I hate when people just talk about the grind. Like, my business isn't a grind. I want it to be full of ease and flow. I want words to flow. I want marketing ideas to flow. I want my branding to flow. I want these video lessons to flow. So I could ask, what's the best possible outcome? And then you can get specific about, for you, what does a best possible outcome look like? For me, it's full of ease, it's full of flow, it's full of fun, it's full of enthusiasm. So I asked myself the question, how could this situation resolve in a way that's the most fun? Or how could I go about this with the most enthusiasm? Or what is the most ease-filled way of going about this? So I don't really like the word easiest because that implies it's not going to be hard work. But like ease-filled is like I'm doing the work, but it's full of ease. It's not like, oh, it's more full of ease. So that's what I want you to ask today as your challenge. And that is what you can answer on Instagram using the hashtag #MonthOfBizLove. Tell me, do you have a challenge or threat mindset about whatever obstacles in your way? Or if you don't really want to share that, because that might be kind of personal, tell me instead, what's the best possible positive outcome to the challenge you're facing right now in your business? That could be the goal that you set. It could be something else that came up. It's the best possible outcome, or the most ease-filled possible outcome, or the most fun-filled possible outcome. So share it with me on Instagram with the hashtag #MonthOfBizLove. I love seeing your answers. Be sure you click on that hashtag and go around and heart and comment on other people's. There's some fantastic answers there, man. And if you want the workbook, which tells you more about the challenge versus threat mindset, it spells out what I said here today is in the workbook. You can get it at tarasweiger.com/monthofbizlove, and this is just challenge 15. You just scroll down to challenge 15. Thank you so much for joining me on this challenge and for being here. And thank you for being willing to shake up your threat mindset into something more challenging and fun and ease filled. So thank you and have a really fantastic day.